You guys, yesterday I finished reading the first book in the series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I wanted to make the intro for this reading vlog right now so that I get it out of the way and I can finally begin reading the sequel of ACOTAR, which is ACOMAF, A Court of Mist and Fury. Spoilers for everything ACOTAR related for the whole series in this video. As previously, I want to read what it says on the back of the book so that I know what I'm getting myself into, and then I can finally start reading. So it says, Feyre is immortal. I think in the first on the back of the first book it says Feyre is a huntress, and now it says Feyre is immortal. So I think for the whole series, we'll have like a tagline about Feyre, or at least for the first 3 books. Feyre is immortal. She had rescued her lover Tamlin from the sadistic fairy queen and now possesses fae powers beyond imagining. But Feyre cannot forget the destruction she wrought to save her beloved, nor her bargain she made with Brisand, High Lord of the feared Night Court. And as Feyre is drawn even deeper into Rhysand's world, she senses a dark pain in his heart that echoes her own. For good or ill, Feyre must embrace the changes within her. War is looming, and only the full might of her new powers can save the people she loves. Let's get to reading. Let's see if we have the same map of the UK that's supposedly Prythian, and yes, we have the same map. Cool. Okay. Another thing I wanted to see, so this one is split into parts. I don't think the first one was split into parts, but I might be wrong on that one. No, it's not. It's just by chapters, and that's it. I thought I missed something, but this one is split into parts. Part 1 is the House of Beasts. Miss Mass loves the blank of blank and blank. But yeah, let's see how big is the first part. Hopefully, I wanted to say hopefully I don't spoil anything just by flipping through the pages, but I'm already spoiled for the entirety of the series, so it's fine. Okay, so the first part is roughly 130 pages, so I guess I will do that. I will read the first part of this book and I will update you as I go with part 2 and 3 and however many parts this book has. This is longer definitely than the first one. It has like 600 something pages, so it's probably gonna take me a while to get through this, but yeah, let's start reading and I will update you soon. Hello. It is the same day I managed to finish part one of ACOMAF, A Court of Mist and Fury. And I am currently on page 136. So, before I start the second part of this book, I wanted to give you an update of the first part, and it is called The House of Beasts. In the first part, all of the characters are pretty much dealing with PTSD from what happened under the mountain with Amaranta in the first book. And all of them are processing their feelings and their grief differently. We have on one side Feyre, who is overwhelmed with her feeling of grief over the fact that she killed those two innocent fairies in the third trial. She has nightmares, she can't sleep at night, she is always thinking that she killed those two fairies, and most importantly, she cannot really paint anymore because when she sees red paint, she's pretty much seeing the blood of those fairies that she killed. These are obviously signs that she's not well mentally, and she has to really take time for herself to get well and to process those events that happened. Tamlin, on the other hand, he is very overprotective towards Feyre because while they were under the mountain, he couldn't really protect her, and he had to watch as Amaranta was basically putting her life in danger with each trial and each thing that she was doing. And now he wants to keep Feyre safe. The wedding day comes. Feyre is really freaking out because she doesn't really know what to do, but she starts to think that she doesn't really want to get married to Tamlin, and she's thinking that someone has to save her, like she can't do this alone. And guess what happens? Right in that moment, Rhysand appears because they're still linked through that tattoo with the eye, whatever. Basically, he could feel her through their connection. And he saves her because Feyre still needs to go to visit Rhysand 1 week each month as part of their deal from under the mountain. Tamlin is obviously pissed because this was happening like in the middle of the ceremony, and everyone could kind of see Feyre hesitating on saying yes to Tamlin for them to get married. So it just kind of sucks that Rhysand pretty much appeared in the middle of the ceremony, and now he's taking Feyre to the Night Court. Now, apparently, the Night Court is supposed to be this like terrifying thing, and Amaranta pretty much modeled the Under the Mountain throne room and everything that she had after the things that were already existing in the Night Court. Feyre is really surprised with the fact that it is not really terrifying in the Night Court. Rhysand is helping Feyre learn how to write and read, and this is kind of taking her mind off of the events that happened under the mountain, and she's now able to read books. She is doing that pretty much exclusively because she doesn't really know what else to do with her time, because again, she can't paint because she's associating that with those dead fairies, so she's reading now. We love to see it. Good job, Feyre. We also meet Mor, Rhysand's cousin. Well, kind of, but he says that Mor is pretty much the only family that he has left. And there are also very, very brief mentions of Azriel and what's the other one? I already forgot. Anyway, we will meet them later, I'm sure. But another thing that's very, very important that we learn in the first part of this book, because Feyre was brought back to life by the 7 High Lords of Prythian, she pretty much has inherited all of their powers. So she's the most powerful now, but the catch is that she doesn't really know how to control her powers. So Rhysand wants to train her, but Tamlin doesn't really want to do that. I mean, I guess he kind of has a point, because the more people know about Feyre's power, the more people will try to come after her, basically. They have this like huge fight over the fact that there's this stupid tradition with the tithe. Basically, the people from the Spring Court have to give Tamlin 10% of their annual earnings in this ceremony, and it's mandatory. And she sees this fairy from the I think she's something related to the sea, something like that. She lives in the sea or near the sea, anyway. And this fairy is very poor. She doesn't have anything to give to Tamlin, and he's a jackass. And Feyre is undermining Tamlin, and she gives this poor fairy her jewelry, her earrings, her necklaces, and stuff like that. And they have a huge fight over this. Feyre is coming from a place of she herself being poor and having two sisters and a father that she had to provide for. And she's really understanding this fairy that she doesn't have money, she doesn't have what to eat, so she can't really give Tamlin anything. And Tamlin comes from a place of, but this is tradition, this is what my father was doing, and we have to keep these things alive. I really, really liked how Sarah J. Maas just portrayed all of these characters and their emotions, their grief, their way of dealing with these events that happened to them in the past, and now they just have to move past those. But how are they going to do that? It's very unique to them, and I just loved how she chose to start this book with processing everything that happened in the previous one. After another fight between Tamlin and Feyre, Tamlin pretty much locks her up in the house. She can't leave, she feels like she's suffocating, and because she's panicking so much, Rhysand feels that through their bond, and he is able to weaken those curses, protections, whatever Tamlin did to lock Feyre up. And Moore comes to Feyre's rescue, and she's able to just get her out of the Spring Court. Now, Rhysand tells Feyre that she doesn't have to go back to the Spring Court if she doesn't want to do that. Feyre finally recognizes the fact that she doesn't really want to go back to the Spring Court if Tamlin is not changing his attitude towards her, and she decides to stay in the Night Court for the moment. Rhysand has a lot of stuff to do, so he says that he's going to leave, and Feyre asks him to take her with him because she doesn't really want to be alone anymore, and she wants to be involved in something, in some action. Rhysand accepts, and they go together to Velaris, the city of Starlight. And this is how the first part ends. Now, the second part of the book is called The House of Wind, and it is a chunker. I think it's more than 300 pages, so it will take me a while to read. Because the second part of this book is so long, and I'm sure a lot of things are going to happen, I'll see if I will update you when I finish the second part, or if I can find like another spot in the middle of the second part to update you on. But yeah, that being said, I have to start editing a video that I postponed for like a couple of days now. It's really bad. I should not be procrastinating and start working on it. But if I'm in the mood to do that, I will do that tonight, and I will be continuing with this book tomorrow. But if I will not be in the mood to edit that video, I'll be continuing with ACOMAF tonight, and I will update you when I'll update you. So, see you, I guess. It is a couple of days later since I last updated you, but I freshly brewed another cup of coffee and I am also done with the second part of ACOMAF, and that is the House of Wind. So I wanted to discuss with you about it because there are a lot of things that are happening in the second part of the book. And it also like took me a while to get through just because there are some weirdly long scenes. I liked the pacing a lot, but some things are just like too long. So I was like, maybe this could have been shorter, but nonetheless, I'm not mad at it. There are plot holes. There are a couple of those as well. But overall, I'm quite pleased with how the story is going so far. I am very curious as to what the conclusion to this book will be because I have probably like 120-ish pages left. And I just don't know how Sergei Mas will be wrapping up this book, but I guess we will find out very, very soon. So I am currently on page 503 on chapter 52. The majority of the action happened in either Valaris or the Summer Court. There's a reason for that, which I'm gonna get to in a second. But at the very beginning of the second part, we learn that the Night Court is split into two parts almost. So we have Valaris on one side, and that is the very charming and warm and cozy kind of part of the Night Court. And I'm pretty sure Asriel or Cassian, but I think it's Cassian that calls it the House of Dreams. And then we also have the other part of the Night Court, which is the Court of Nightmares, and that is the part of the Night Court that everyone is kind of fearing in Prythian, because in the first book at least we hear a lot about how frightening the Night Court is, and from what we know about Valaris so far it doesn't really make sense, but it is explained that these are like two separate things that are kind of like mushed together in this general term of the Night Court. In Valaris, we also meet Rhysand's inner circle. The inner circle is comprised of Mor, who is Rhysand's cousin, but not really, Cassian and Asriel, who are Rhysand's very close friends from his childhood, and also Amren, who is this ancient fairy creature. We learn more about her throughout the second part, but basically she was around for like a really, really long time. She was in prison. We don't know exactly how or why or how she escaped. But a very important detail, she apparently doesn't eat like human fairy food. She only drinks blood, which is kind of strange. And the more I think about Amren, the more I'm associating her with very mild spoilers for Crescent City, but I don't think they're really spoilers. So the more I'm thinking about Amren, the more I'm associating her with the Asteri from Crescent City. And even though I'm pretty convinced that she's not an Asteri, the definition of Amren is very close to what we know about the Asteri from Crescent City. So I thought that was really interesting. Maybe Sarah J. Maas had this idea for Amren and then she kind of like extrapolated it to the Asteri in the later Crescent City books. I don't know, but I just thought that was worth mentioning. Rhysand tells Feyre later in the book that she's also part of the inner circle. So now we have more people in the inner circle. Sarah J. Maas loves to do this in each of her books, but apparently each character is the most beautiful. Each location is the most stunning and gorgeous and incredibly charming. I don't know. Everything is just very, very beautiful, I guess. The main plot, like the main thing that happened in the second part of the book. So apparently the king of Hybern is also where Amarantha was from. So the king of Hybern basically wants world domination, I guess. And he wants to rule over the fairy realm and the human realm, and he wants to unify those, I guess. So the king of Hybern, I don't think we know his name, but the king of Hybern wants to resurrect Durian. If you remember from the first book, Durian is that mortal soldier who pretty much used Amaranta's sister Clytia for information, then slaughtered her and delivered her to Amaranta's doorstep. So that's why Amaranta hates humans. I don't know if it was explained and I missed it, or this is just how I kind of made sense of the things that were happening in my head, but it was said that the king of Hybern wants to use the cauldron to resurrect Durian. I don't understand why, but I guess the cauldron is so powerful that it can also kind of like get rid of the wall between the fairy world and the human world, and that's what the king of Hybern wants. I'm not quite sure why he wants to resurrect Durian though. Again, maybe I'm just dumb and I missed it, but I don't know. Rhysand and Feyre go to the prison with capital P to learn more about the cauldron and how they can counteract its powers. And in the prison, they go to the bone carver. The bone carver is really excited about death. So Feyre is kind of like exchanging her experience with death because she died in the first book and then she was brought back to life by the Seven High Lords. And she's using this information to basically ask the bone carver more about the cauldron and how they can negate its powers. And the bone carver tells them that there's this book of breedings that can negate the cauldron's powers, or it can counteract its powers. And this book is so powerful that it was split in two parts. One part is in Prythian and the other one is in the mortal realm. The part of the book that is in the mortal realm is in the possession of the mortal queens, who are complete assholes, by the way. There's this whole scene in the book with Feyre and Rhysand and the rest of the gang going to Nesta and Elaine and pretty much asking them if they can use their house to meet with the mortal queens. Nesta obviously doesn't want to do this. Elaine is kind of like, well, think about everything that Feyre did for us growing up. Like, she provided for us, she learned how to hunt for us, and like, we should let her do this one thing that she's asking for. They managed to get this audience with the mortal queens. Apparently the queens are able to winnow. Maybe it will be explained later because I'm very curious on how that's possible. Winnowing is their kind of like version of teleportation. They talk to the queens. Obviously, the queens don't agree to their terms. They don't want to give them the book because they believe that the fairies are evil, like all of them. And Rhysand is like, no, we are the good guys because we are warning you about this war that is about to emerge with Hybern. And the queens are like, well, prove it. Like, show to us that you're not evil. And this is where I didn't understand what was happening, because Feyre and Rhysand plan to show the queens Valaris as proof that they are good people or good fairies or whatever. And I just don't understand how that's proving anything. Like, Valaris was probably there when Rhysand's dad was ruling over the Night Court, and his dad was not good, arguably. So I don't know how the existence of Valaris is proving anything, but let's just go with it. And there's this whole side quest of them going to the Court of Nightmares to retrieve this object that's showing you only the truth, and they're planning to use this object to show the mortal queens Valaris because they don't want them to go there. Anyway, fast forward to the events that are happening in the Summer Court. Rhysand, Amren, and Feyre go to the Summer Court because Feyre is able to track the magic that was used by all of the seven High Lords, because she has like a teeny tiny bit of power from each and every one of them, and she's using her ability to track the Book of Breeding that's hidden in the Summer Court. Again, we don't know why it is in the Summer Court, and we also don't exactly know how Feyre is able to track these objects. Earlier in the book, she also retrieved Rhysand's mom's ring that was in the possession of the Weaver. I don't understand how it works. It wasn't explained. Let's just move on. In the Summer Court, Feyre is able to track the Book of Readings. She goes there with Amren, and they got the book, but they also nearly died. And if you remember, actually, I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the video, but in the first part of this book, Feyre helps a water nymph a water sprite. I don't remember exactly what's her exact species, I want to say. But because this water nymph, water, whatever she is indebted to Feyre, she saved her and Ambran. I really, really liked this detail of the story. Back in Valaris, Rhysand and Feyre and Ambran are just like telling everyone from the inner circle that they got the book, or at least the half of it that was hidden in Prythian. And they're trying to read it. Specifically, Feyre is trying to read it. But she cannot because it is written in an ancient language that only Amran kind of sort of can read. This is another plot hole in my opinion because throughout this series until now, Rhysand trained Feyre with a purpose for her to be able to help him combat the King of Hybern. He helped her master her new powers from all of the seven High Lords. He also taught her how to write and read because he knew that Feyre was the only one able to retrieve this book that she can't read now because it's in another language. So he didn't really have any sort of reason to teach her how to write and read for the purpose of what he wanted to achieve. Anyway, I feel like I reached a point in the series where I really have to talk about this because it is one of these books' biggest selling point, I think. And that is their explicit sexual scenes or like sexual chapters, let's say. Other people are using the terms smut and steam and whatever or spice. I just don't like that. Like, just say that they're sexually explicit and just move on. But there are quite a few chapters when Rhysand and Feyre are doing some things, let's say. There's a lot of licking and fingering in this book, and I honestly just kind of like skimmed through those chapters because I don't really care about that. But there are not a lot of like really outrageous things. Like, by how certain people talk about these books, you would think that there's like constant sex going on, and that's just not what's happening. Like, yes, there are 2 or 3 chapters, I believe, in this book thus far where they're having sex, but there's nothing really that taboo about it. There's a one bed trope at a certain point if you're interested in that. Towards the end of the second part of this book, Rhysand is very gravely injured and he is also kidnapped by these other fairies. And Feyre is able to track him down by her scent because they just had sex last night and she can smell herself all over him. It's a whole thing. Anyway, she's able to find Rhysand, but he is very, very badly injured. And the only thing that Feyre thinks to do in that moment, because she doesn't really know how to take care of his wounds, she is tracking down the Suriel once again. She catches the Suriel pretty easily. Also, I just want to say the Suriel is arguably like the cuntiest character in this series overall thus far. Amran is also a very high contender for that title, but the Suriel is just like, when in doubt, go catch the Suriel because he's gonna tell you everything that you want to know. But anyway, Feyre catches the Suriel. She asks him, or it, or whatever they are. She asks the Suriel how she can help Rhysand, and the Suriel is like, well, you could treat your mate by just like making him drink your blood, and there's also this other herb in the forest that you can give him and he will be better soon. And Feyre's like, what did you say? And the Suriel is like, oh, so you didn't know that he's your mate. Feyre is obviously pissed because throughout the series there's this true line of Feyre really wanting to be in the know about what is happening. She explicitly told Rhysand multiple times like, hey, you shouldn't be keeping secrets from me. Like, if you plan on doing something, just like tell me so that I can help you accordingly. Like, we shouldn't keep any secrets from each other while we're doing this thing with trying to fight the King of Highburn and everything. Feyre gives Rhysand what he needs to be a bit better, and they go back to Valaris. But Feyre really needs some time away from Rhysand. She's also pretty angry at Amren and Mor because they also know that Rhysand and Feyre are mates. Cassian and Asriel only suspect that that's the case, but they don't know for sure. I still have to read the third and last part of this book, which is the House of Mist. I want to read a good chunk of that today, and obviously I will come back here later with my final update for A Court of Mist and Fury. I keep looking at the title because I swear to God, all of Sarah J. Maas's books are like a blank of blank and blank, and it drives me absolutely crazy because I can't remember the title of them. But anyway, let's continue. You guys, today is October 3rd. Like on October 3rd, he asked me what day it was. It's October 3rd.
On October 3rd, he asked me what day it was.
It's October 3rd.
Not only today is International Mean Girls Day, obviously, but it's also the release day of The Life of a Showgirl. So even though I didn't really sleep that well last night, I only slept like 5 hours or so, I had to wake up early in the morning to listen to the album. For TTPD, everyone had kind of like a party on Threads, and I thought it might be fun to do that again for this album drop, and it's been absolutely amazing. Everyone is sharing their theories and what the songs might be about. Even though this album is a non-skip album, let's take a moment to talk about Wood. I also finished ACOMAF last night, so we're gonna talk about that in a second. But Wood, I knew that with a song title like that, the song is going to be full of like sexual references, jokes, innuendos, stuff like that. But I didn't know the extent of those jokes or innuendos, and it's the whole song basically. I love this album so much. I'm just like looking at the track list again. I've been replaying it and replaying it and replaying it all over again this morning, and yeah, it's been great. I can't wait to learn all of the lyrics to these songs, specifically Father Figure, because I really like the song like sonically and lyrically. Another Trip, Ruin the Friendship. I thought it's going to be like, oh, let's ruin the friendship, but it's not really that. It's about regret and losing someone that you had a crush on. Like, it's really, really heartbreaking, but it's fun. All of the songs are bops. Even track 5, Eldest Daughter, gut-wrenching but fun. Like, you could dance to the entirety of this album, and yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. The Life of a Showgirl aside, as I was saying previously, I finished ACOMAF, and here's the thing. Do you remember how throughout this video I said that there are like some plot points or like some things that are happening throughout the book that don't necessarily make sense in the grand scheme of things when you're thinking about them? I don't care in the end, because the third part of this book tied everything together so nicely, or I should say opened up the plot so much more. I don't care about the other things that were kind of nonsensical thus far in the book, because this is a 5-star read. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I was so impressed with the ending of this book and how things turned out. So if you remember from the last update, Feyre just learned from the Suriel that Rhysand is her mate. And she didn't react well to that because she explicitly said to him that she doesn't want to have any other secrets kept from her. So, at the beginning of the third part, Rhysand talks to Feyre and he kind of spills his heart out, and we learn more about his life story and how he was captured by Amaranta and all of the terrible things that were happening under the mountain. And when he finished with that story, Feyre gave him soup because it's like a mate tradition from Pretty and whatever. And she basically accepted the mating bond. So now they are officially mates, and they are having sex in all of the rooms, everywhere. There's paint involved, there's wings involved. And they apparently are in a frenzy and they can't stop from doing it everywhere. But moving along from that, back in the mortal realm, the queens are finally ready to talk to Rhysand and the gang, so they go to Nesta and Elaine's house. And the queens are not all of them there. It's only the first one, or like the youngest one, and the oldest one. And they are basically ready to show the queens Volaris because they think that that's proof that they're the good guys in this situation. I don't know. They show Volaris to the queens. The oldest one is not really impressed with anything, and she's like, yeah, we'll consider your request, like, thanks for showing us this city. In that second, Nesta is fuming, and she is basically questioning the queens, like, how do you dare do this to us, because we calculated everything, and it turns out that if you don't give us this book, the town where we are, or like the portion of the land where we are, is going to be invaded by Hybern's forces, and you would need like a lot of ships to evacuate this area. And the oldest queen is like, yeah, we don't care, that's your problem, and we don't want anything to do with it, basically. Again, the oldest queen not really impressed with anything, and the queens just left after that. But Rhysand keeps staring at this chair where the youngest queen sat, and it turns out that she actually left them the Book of Breedings, or at least like the half that they needed. Going back to Velaris, they go to Amren to give her the other half of the book so that she can translate the spell that they need for the cauldron to be eradicated, negated, whatever. After that, Velaris is attacked because, surprise, surprise, the queens actually betrayed them, and they were in cahoots with Hybern the whole time. Rhysand and the gang didn't really have a chance to win them over because we will learn this later, but Jurian was brought back to life by the king of Hybern, and Jurian went first to the queens asking them for help, and the queens chose to believe Jurian. The youngest queen is now also dead because she helped Rhysand with the book. Feyre really learned how to master her powers, and she sees this river that's running through Velaris, so she is making wolves out of water, and the wolves are basically eating these creatures that are attacking Velaris. Fast forward to Amarantha. She finally cracked the code. She knows the spell to break the cauldron, whatever, and they have this whole thing figured out. Like, they know where the cauldron is in Hybern, and they just go there. It's very easy, or it seems to be very easy, how they go there and how they winnow in the same room as the cauldron. Turns out it's a trap. Next up, in true Sarah J. Maas fashion, the plot is so rapidly evolving that's like information after information after information, and you don't know what's happening anymore, but you're just there for the ride. And I absolutely love that. Let me read you what Rhysand tells Amren at the end of this fight between them and Hybern, because I think he's summarizing the events pretty well. So Amren didn't actually go with them to Hybern. She was just taking care of Velaris. So when Rhysand and everyone, well, kind of everyone is back, Feyre is missing. So Amren is asking Rhysand, like, where is she? And then Rhysand gives her the info dump, basically the summary of the last part of the book. So he says, Tamlin offered passage through his lands and our heads on platters to the king in exchange for trapping Feyre, breaking her bond, and getting to bring her back to the Spring Court. But Ayanti betrayed Tamlin, told the king where to find Feyre's sisters, so the king had Feyre's sisters brought to the queens to prove he could make them immortal. He put them in the cauldron, them meaning Elaine and Nesta. We could do nothing as they were turned. He had us by the balls. End quote. So basically, Elaine and Nesta were turned, or I should say, made with capital M. Apparently, something went really wrong when Nesta was submerged into the cauldron because she was so full of hatred and anger towards the king for doing this to them that she really challenged the power of the cauldron. It's still not that clear what exactly happened, but she is now very powerful. Like, she turned into a very powerful High Fae. And then Rhysand continues, We were out of options, but Feyre knew it, so she pretended to free herself from the control Tamlin thought I'd kept on her mind, pretended that she hated us, and told him she'd go home, but only if the killing stopped, if we went free. So Feyre did this so that everyone is not hurt further, and she basically agreed to go with Tamlin back to the Spring Court. In that moment in the book, we as readers are led to believe that the King of Hybern basically broke the mating bond between the two. But right now in this chapter, in Rhysand's point of view, we learn that the mating bond can't actually be broken, and what the King of Hybern actually broke is their deal from ACOTAR with that like tattoo on Feyre's hand. So that's what was broken. Mor was also very concerned about this because she didn't know. And she thought the actual mating bond was broken between them, but apparently not the case. So good job, Feyre. So Feyre agreed to go back to the Spring Court in order to stop everyone from getting hurt. Rhysand and the gang and also Elaine and Nesta went to the Night Court, and then Feyre and Tamlin and Lucien went to the Spring Court. Also, at the end of the book, we learn that Rhysand pretty much gave Feyre the title of High Lady of the Night Court. So she's not only Rhysand's wife or Rhysand's maid, but she is High Lady of the Night Court, which means that she has the same power over the Night Court as Rhysand does. And yeah, this is pretty much the ending of ACOMAF. This was so good. Like the pacing of it was really, really well done in my opinion, and the things kind of started to have a true line. Basically, we learned a lot about Rhysand, about Feyre, about their bond, and a lot of things were revealed about the events of the first book that we weren't really aware of until now. So yeah, very happy with this. As I said, in my eyes, this is like a really, really good sequel to ACOTAR. The first book, not great, but this one really, really good. And as I said, I gave it 5 stars just because I thought it was well done and I loved it. And with that, this is the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I will now go brew another cup of coffee and I will most probably start my reading vlog for Aka War. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss that video when I will post it. Comment down below either your favorite The Life of a Showgirl song or your thoughts about ACOMAF, and I will see you soon with a new video here on the channel. Bye everyone.